morning again. My name's Jennifer Kulix. I'm serving as the Interim Associate Vice President and Dean of Students. There's a few interims in our division this year, but again, please know Jennifer and the Dean of Students. So what I want to talk to you about today, just a couple different policies and some things that I can do to help you as a student, but also in your role as TA. So I'm very happy to be here, and hopefully even at the end of my 10 minutes, there's room for questions. So, and welcome. I hope this is a great crowd. It's an exciting time. Okay, the Office of the Dean of Students, we are located in 250 of the Student Center, right on this floor behind the governance chambers. Our office suite has the Vice President for Student Affairs, myself, our student ombuds, which many of you heard from yesterday, Pat Dennison. My former role was of the student ombuds, so I was speaking to you or your colleagues in years past as the ombuds. The areas that I work with most intimately as the Dean of Students is the Office of Student Conduct, which relates to behavior of our students, the Center for Student Involvement, which again is in this building, programming, services, events for all of our students, grad and undergrad, and the Kent Student Center is a part of our purview, which is this building, this entire building, from the basement in the Rathskeller all the way to all the meeting rooms on the third floor. The Dean of Students position is basically your primary student advocate. How can I help you find the resources you need to support your journey at Kent State academically, but also help your students who are going to look to you? You could be a full-time faculty member, tenured, et cetera, or on your journey to become one on a TA. They look at you as their mentor, their guide, so they're going to be looking to you for questions, answers, and if you don't know where to send a student, I just want to leave you with this. Please, Pat Dennison or I are a great resource for you just to help you navigate a student through any concerns and also help you move through any that you may have personally or professionally. The CARE team. The CARE is not an acronym for anything. It's basically the word CARE, but our CARE team is an interdisciplinary team that we have on campus made up of an individual from legal counsel, our chief psychologist, our resident services director or associate director, myself, the ombuds, I'm trying to think, and our lieutenant from Kent State Police. Our CARE team focuses explicitly on students who are a threat to themselves or others. So when you are in the classroom, when you are interacting with students and they give you a clue, you find something is just off, whatever it would be, we're going to refer to, again, the Step Up and Speak Out resources that you have. But it's very important that you find me or Pat Dennison to make a call or an email referral, preferably a call to say, I had an interaction with a student that I'm very concerned about. Now, again, I want to preface this. If you are with a student or anyone on campus and it's an emergency, you call 911. That would be the major focus I want to put out there. However, in discussion, you're hearing things that are, very concerning to you. And you know in your gut, when you're with a student and they're sharing with you personal things or of concern to help navigate them. Please refer either the student to us or call me and see if we can reach out to the student, whatever you think is most comfortable. The Step Up and Speak Out campaign, you all hopefully have in your folders this folder. So hopefully it's in there. It's pretty easy to recognize. It might be in an envelope. If you can grab that real quick. And I wish my presentation was certainly more exciting than this, but it's okay. The Dean of Students position I'm finding is highs and lows that we have great times and then we have challenging moments. And we'll get this out because this is where some of the challenging moments come. But hopefully you'll all find that this resource, the Step Up and Speak Out folder, this is an initiative that was implemented a few years ago that some campuses do have. We're very fortunate to have this moving forward. But this is a support, a guide for you, do's and don'ts when working with students who are emotionally distressed, disruptive, and it's very important to know the difference. Also students who may be suicidal. So again, I'm speaking to you as students. Okay, these are great resources for you if you happen to need them, but they're also a great guide for you when working with a student. There is an app that I encourage you all to put on your phones, Step Up and Speak Out. If you search that in the Google Play or Apple, you'll be able to put that app directly on your phone. All these resources will be at your fingertips, okay? And then the other is there's a website that will have this as a PDF in case you lose it. If you do lose it and you need another one, let me know. We have a bunch of them in our office, and also, you know, the website. There is also a resource card inside that says Kent Campus Resources, and you'll find everything from the 24-hour resources to emergency to faculty staff resources, and then on the back, there's minimal risk, possible risk, or imminent risk to self or others, and how you can assess maybe where a student would be. Again, we're not all in the business of being experts in this. This is just a guide for you to be able to help students, and hopefully you'll be able to at least take a once read through this thoroughly before you start your academic year. Any questions about the Step Up and Speak Out folder? Again, you'll see it broken down very clearly into dealing with distressed individuals, disruptive individuals, and responding to suicide risk, okay? It's a tough topic, but with the student age that we deal with, it's a reality. Okay, the next topic real quick is gender-based discrimination. I want to draw your attention to the terminology in a policy we're going to discuss, and also your rights and our university responsibilities in the response process. So, there is a policy, and I'm drawing your attention to it. It's 5-16.2. Okay, don't need to remember that, but there is a policy register that we have at Kent State University that has 9 chapters. If you have trouble sleeping, I encourage you to, move through there. The 5th chapter, that's the 5, it's policy 16.2. And basically, it is the administrative policy regarding complaints of unlawful gender discrimination, sexual harassment, misconduct, stalking, and intimate partner violence. You all know the landscape right now about sexual assault, misconduct. You're reading about it, you're reviewing it. There's White House reports, the new Dear Colleague letters. So what we're trying to do is get you the most updated information we can and let you know that this policy exists. I encourage you all to print this policy and take a look at it, okay? Some of the definitions in the policy, again, this is for you as a student and you also to help a student. I'm not going to read these all to you, but this policy addresses gender discrimination and harassment, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, intimate partner violence, and it gives definition of those so you're aware. For example, gender discrimination and harassment could exist if a student is pregnant and is forced to drop a class. If you have a pregnant student in your class, we cannot say, well, you're pregnant and you're going to be potentially missing class, you need to withdraw. That's not appropriate. If you have a student who's pregnant in your class and there's complications beginning, for example, you can refer the student to the ombuds and say, okay, the ombuds would implement the appropriate policy, talk about options, and understand the Department of Education and what our rights and responsibilities are to take care of those students and provide the best accommodations that we can. Remember also that Student Accessibility Services is there to support our students. Sexual harassment, unfavorable or welcome treatment without consent. Misconduct would be related to touching without consent and along those lines. Intimate partner violence consists of dating violence, domestic violence, stalking. Most of you know that terminology. The definition of consent is in there and the exceptions to consent and how a student or a person would be unable to give consent if they were incapacitated or under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And the definition of retaliation. So it's very important that if you have time just to pull up that policy, you can Google policy register at kent.edu, and it's the 5th chapter, and you can also even type that policy in just to review it, and you have it on hand. Okay, but again, feel free to call me so that if there's an issue that you feel, if a student has disclosed that they've been harassed or if they've been assaulted, anything like that, you are a responsible employee that we have to report this. So what we want to talk about briefly here is that we have a responsibility as employees. And since you are and I am, if a student or someone comes to you and discloses that you feel there's a violation of this policy or they've been sexually harassed or have been assaulted, what we need to do is make sure that we get this person to safe locations, support, take any documentation down that you can, encourage the student that they have the ability to report this to the police. And the one thing that you do have to disclose to a student, if they say, please don't repeat this to anyone, you do have to disclose that as a university employee that our responsibility is to report this at least to the Title IX deputy, the Title IX coordinator, okay? It doesn't mean that his or her name is going to be out there. It doesn't mean that they have to file a police report, et cetera. So again, if you're in an instance like this and you want to call me, we can work through this together to make sure that you do the right thing, and that we follow university policy, and that we're able to provide the student with the appropriate resources and guidance, okay? So my goal is that you don't feel alone in that situation, because if it's not an emergency, and you're not calling 911, and you're having dialogue with a student, don't feel rushed. Take down the information you need to, support the student, provide the great empathy that you have, and then you can talk to me later, or during that time you can say, can we make a phone call? You'll be able to gauge the situation, but know that the ombuds and myself and the vice president are here to support you in a difficult time with a student or yourself. Here's some great resources. We have what is so wonderful on our campus, the Office of Sexual and Relationship Violence Support Services, SERVS, S-R-V-S-S, our SERVS office, which is located inside the Women's Center on our campus. The great thing is that we have an administrator, a director, Jenny O'Connell, who's able to support our students with resources and safety plans and anything that may come up regarding any relationship or violence challenges. We have our Psychological Services Office in the Health Center, Counseling and Human Development in Whitehall, our Psychology Clinic in Bowman, and also Town Hall 2, which is our 24-hour community-based resources. Again, in your Step Up and Speak Out folder, you're going to feel so good. If you read through those resources, you feel prepared. When you're with a student, you can always guide them to a resource and feel that you've done the right thing for that student. Reporting and filing complaints. Again, this is our Title IX coordinator. It is mandatory that universities now have a Title IX coordinator. And this is Loretta Shields. That's her information. And again, at the bottom there, it says, we are employees that are mandated reporters. So again, if you're in this situation, we need to support one another and make sure that we're reporting the appropriate numbers and incidents on our campus, and to guide and support our students. Remedial measures, for example, in the past, as not an example, not using names, but I had two students, graduate students, that it was an intimate partner violence situation, but they happened to be in the same lab and in the same cohort and going through the same classes. That is where we will work with academic services and help to separate, to make academic or housing accommodations. You can put something in place such as a no contact order so that neither party is permitted to contact one another, and we can provide counseling, support, et cetera. So those are the things that we want to share that we're able to provide. Any investigation that goes on regarding this policy or violations of it are done through our student conduct process. If the student that is the complainant who has filed a complaint is filing against a student. If the student's the respondent of that, then it would go through our student conduct process, student and student. If it's a student with an employee, then this would be reported to the deputy Title IX or coordinator. And again, if this is a visitor on our campus that has violated a student or their rights, then this would be a hearing process called PNG, which is persona non grata. We have many visitors to this campus that were not welcomed and their behavior was not welcomed, and they were put through a process and they're no longer able to come on our campus in perpetuity. So that's a wonderful process that we have. So I wanted to just briefly reiterate that the two main reasons I'm here is to remind you of the Step Up and Speak Out initiative so that you are able to feel competent about our university resources for yourself and for our students. And the other is to remind you that we have a revised, updated policy regarding gender discrimination and sexual harassment, which is that 5-16.2, which provides great information for you on definitions and things to look for. So, and lastly, what I want to leave you with, again, is that Pat Dennison and I, and my having served in the Ombuds role the last 3 years, we are here to provide you with the guidance and resources you need to support your students. And that's what I want to leave you with, is that we don't want you feeling alone out there. We want you to be able to know that if it's a non-academic issue, then the Division of Student Affairs has individuals that are going to support us in the co-curricular experience of our students, which is mostly the positive and fun part, but also the support and the resources and the needs that we have as a community. So does anyone have any questions? I know it can get a little confusing, but the thought is not to harbor information that, could be a detriment, to keep it to yourself, or again, being responsible employees that we are, to report things appropriately. So does anyone have? I'm sorry? Oh, Title IX is an educational amendment, thank you, that was put in place in 1972, educations that receive federal funding are required to not discriminate based on gender. And so that is an educational amendment that athletics has to abide by it because we receive federal funding, and it's about equity, and it's about access, but it's basically an educational amendment that prohibits discrimination based on gender. Yes, thank you. Good note for me to remind. Anything else? I wish you all the best. Welcome to Kent State. Have fun. Good luck with your personal and professional goals. And again, I want to thank you for all the time that you're going to take to support our students and make them productive citizens in our society. You're going to influence them in a great way. So best of luck to everybody. Thank you.